The materials you'll need are up to 3.7 meters of fabric. You'll need a sewing machine, some scissors, some mini pegs, pins, a seam ripper, or if you're from Australia, an unpicker, measuring tape, the pattern, of course, as well for this beautiful cottagecore dress, which you can find in the description below, and a dress zip. We're going to be starting by putting together the bodice part of the dress. So here you can see the bodice panels. We have the center back panel, the back side panel, the center front panel, front side panel, and the front bust panel. So we're going to start by pinning and stitching together the center front panel to the side front panel with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Do this for both sides. Press both the seams and overlock and zigzag stitch the raw edges as well. Next, you're actually going to edge stitch close to the seam edge, as you can see here. This helps the garment to sit better on your body and looks more professional. Next, we're going to pin and stitch together the back panel to the side back panel with, again, a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And again, you're going to do this for both sides. I would also recommend to overlock or zigzag stitch the raw edges of the front and back panels as well before you edge stitch. Fold the straps in half right sides together and sew along one short side and the long side. Make sure to leave one short side open. Next, turn through the straps so that the right side of the fabric is showing and then press them all flat. Sometimes it helps to use something like a ruler or something else pointy that can help you just turn the fabric through. One of the sides is stitched shut and it looks really nice, and the other side is open and that's the raw edge. Next, we're going to find the center of the front bodice panel and then we're going to mark it and notch it. Then measure 15 centimeters out each side and pin the raw edge of the strap and stitch in place. This is also subjective. If you would like them a little bit further out, you can do that as well, but my recommendation is to do 15 centimeters from the center. Once we've done that, we're going to stitch them in place. Once they're stitched in place, we're going to grab the other bust cut panel and place it over and pin and stitch it in place with a 1 centimeter seam allowance on the top edge. Next, turn over the fabric so the right sides are showing, then press the top edge of the panel where the straps are sticking out of, and then pin and stitch the whole way around the bust panels. Next, we're going to do the gathering of the front bodice. So find the center of the bust panels and sew long gathering stitches, leaving long tails on the threads. Then pull and gather the fabric to create that ruche look for your dress. You can also easily sew this part by hand if you're finding it difficult with the sewing machine. Now that we've finished that, we're going to attach the front bodice panel to the front lower panel that we already put together earlier in the tutorial. You guessed it, we're going to sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. So again, I've just popped it back on the mannequin so you can see exactly how it's coming along, and it's looking really cool. And as some of you might know, we do have a celebrity in the making here, our beautiful tabby cat Cleo. She always loves to be involved in all the videos that we make, and so I had to absolutely include her. Every time I'm cutting fabric or doing anything, she's up on the table, keeping me company, and she just loves the spotlight. So I thought we could all enjoy a little kitty break with our beautiful Cleo. Alright, and next, now that we've finished the front part of the bodice, we're going to move on to the back. So we've already made these straps. So we're going to pin the raw edges of the straps to the back bodice area, just overlaying on top of where the panels align with each other is fine. And we're going to pin and stitch it in place. Now, once you've overlocked the raw edge, we're also just going to turn over the hem on the top of the panel where the straps are, and we're just going to sew it in place. Here are the skirt panels on screen for you. So we're just overlaying the side skirt front panel and we're just pinning it in place. So this will be the seam where you'll have the split in the skirt where you can see a little bit of leg. So if you don't want that, you can just sew straight down the line from the top of the skirt to the bottom. But if you do want to have a split in your skirt, I'd recommend sewing down the line until you feel comfortable to where you want to have the split opening of your skirt. And again, we're just going to sew it together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Alright, so once we've sewn it in place, we've just got to open up this seam and press it in place. Then you're also going to want to overlock or zigzag stitch the raw edges. So now that it is pressed over and it is overlocked, it's going to be quite easy to just stitch it in place. So I'd start at the bottom of the skirt and work your way up to where the split opening is. And then once you hit the split opening, just pivot your needle and go over, and then pivot again, and then you're going to go back down the skirt. So next up, we've got the two skirt back panels that we're going to put together. So overlay them on top of each other with the right sides of fabric facing, and then pin or peg them in place, and then stitch together. But just make sure you leave an opening at the top of the skirt because we're going to be installing a zip as well. Okay, so next we're going to be attaching the back bodice panels to the back side of the skirt. So as you can see here, we've just pegged it together at the top, and we're just going to, as you guessed it, sew it together with a 1 cm seam allowance. Alright, so next we're going to overlay both the back panels right sides together, and we're actually going to pin with a 2 cm seam allowance. Then we're going to baste them together as well. So basically that means we're going to use a larger stitch length because it's temporary stitching. We're going to be taking them out, but by doing this, it's going to make installing the zip for us a lot easier. So first up, we're going to change the foot on our sewing machine to a zipper foot as well. Next up, we're going to open the back bodice seams and we're going to press them flat. Then we're going to overlay the zip onto those seams and we're going to pin it in place as straight as we can, making sure that the zipper teeth are adjacent to the seam that we've just created on the back bodice panels. And then we're going to stitch down both sides of the zip. It just gives you such a clean, nice finish. So we're just sewing down one side, and when you get to the end, just back tack and then go up and go onto the other side. Once that's done, we're going to turn it over to the right side, and we're going to use an unpicker or a seam ripper to basically undo those basting stitches that we originally put in. So what I recommend doing is make sure that the ball point of the unpicker or the seam ripper is underneath the seam that we're ripping. If you use the pointy edge on the bottom, you're more than likely going to actually cause rips in your dress, and that's not what you're going to want at all. So next up, we're going to be attaching the front bodice panels to the front skirt panels and pinning them in place and sewing them together with a 1 cm seam allowance. On the table here, we've got the front of the dress, and I'm just overlaying the back panels onto it. And again, just pin in place those side seams together all the way down the dress from the bodice right down to the end of the skirt. Now finally, we've just got the hem left. So basically we're just going to turn up the hem as much as desired. I've just turned it up 1 cm and pinned it in place, and we're just going to stitch around the whole hem. Now thank you so much for joining us today on our step-by-step tutorial of our Sienna cottagecore dress. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you do have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment box down below. And if you want to grab this pattern to make this dress for yourself, the link is in the description. I hope you really enjoyed it. Happy sewing, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!